Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my drugstore powder collection. So this is basically a continuation in my collection series, and we're talking about obviously drugstore powders. I want to first apologize if you guys can hear banging or thumping or dogs barking. It's a little chaotic around here today. I am getting a roof put on my place, and so there's just a lot going on, but I needed to get a little pre-filming done, so hopefully you guys can bear with me. It shouldn't be a very long video. So without further ado, let's dive right on in. So the first powder I have is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Pressed Powder. You guys, this is okay for me. I don't really prefer pressed powders. I actually prefer loose powders over pressed, but I'd heard a lot of really good things about this powder, so I wanted to give it a go. Now, the issue that I have with this powder is you really have to sort of rub and rub and rub in order to get payoff. Now, I don't know if that's just the top layer or what, but I mean, you really have to dip in there pretty well. And that is kind of what you get. So it is smooth and it does blend out, but I find that in terms of longevity, for me personally, loose powders is just where it's at. So I'm okay with that one. I'll try to get through it, but to be quite frank, it's probably something that I will wind up decluttering. It's just not my vibes. Also, the packaging sort of broke as soon as I opened it. I mean, you can clearly see I haven't really used this much. It is a smooth powder, and if you like a pressed powder, I would say for the money, give it a go. But for me personally and my makeup preferences, that just isn't really my vibes. It's also in the shade Warm Light, in case I forgot to mention. The next one I have is from e.l.f., and this is the Color Correcting Powder in Cool. Now, as you can see, this is a pressed powder as well, but this I love. This is a very lightweight, very airy, fluffy powder. If you are of a deeper complexion, I do fear that this might make you ashy, but I mean, I've hit pan on this powder. It is $4, so it's very, very affordable. It's just so soft, you guys, and I do find that this helps mattify me. Sometimes I feel like pressed powders can tend to be a bit heavy on my skin personally and a bit powdery looking, but this does not give me that effect at all, and it is great for mattifying. So if you do have combo or oily skin, I would say give this one a go. Just make sure you go light with it because it does tend to leave a bit of a white cast. The next one I have is the Rimmel Stay Matte Loose Powder. Now, I was a huge fan of the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. I went through quite a few of those powders before I kind of discovered loose powders, and for me, that is just everything. So when I saw this come out in a loose format, I was so excited. I'm a little disappointed, you guys. I do like that it has sort of a color to it. It's a kind of a pinky coloring to it, but this doesn't, it's a little heavy for a loose powder. So again, probably something I will wind up decluttering. I just have other powders that I much prefer over this, but if you're new to makeup, if you're experimenting with loose powders, you know, I don't think it's terrible. It's just not my favorite. I found it to be a little bit heavy for a loose powder. Same thing goes for the Coty Airspun. Now, this is going to pack on some coverage. You will definitely get extra coverage out of the Airspun. It is a bit on the heavy side. I did start out with loose powders using this. It is very messy, and this also has a tint to it as well. I do like tints in my powders because I feel like it's better for you know, flash especially, and it will not leave a white cast. This is very fragranced. It has a very sort of mature floral fragrance about it. Doesn't bother me, but I know it does bother some people. This is a very affordable powder. It is nice for baking purposes. I have noticed that, but I don't reach for this a whole lot anymore because, again, I'm really just looking to set my face. I don't want a lot of added coverage. I reach for my foundations and my concealers for coverage. So for me, this is just a bit heavy. But again, if you're just starting out and you want to try out a loose powder, this is a great little drugstore option. Or if you're looking for additional coverage out of a loose powder, that one's a great choice. The next one I have is from Physicians Formula, and this is their Mineral Wear Talc-Free Mineral Face Powder in Creamy Natural. As you can see, I have panned this powder. I've had it for quite a while. I used to set my face with this religiously. I no longer reach for this powder. So again, probably something that I need to declutter. It's very soft, but, and I mean, I hit pan, so it's not terrible. But again, I just have learned that I much prefer a loose powder over pressed. The next one is also from Physicians Formula, and this is the only thing that I have like this. And this is basically, this is the Mineral Wear Talc-Free Mineral Oso Radiant Powder. So in the shade Creamy Natural as well. So it's basically the sister to this powder here. This one has more of a matte finish. This definitely leaves a sheen. I do like this sometimes for under my eyes, especially if they're looking a bit dry. This will not dry you out, and it does, I'm covered in powder now, but it does have a radiance about it. Doesn't look like much in the pan, but when you apply this, it definitely does leave a sort of sheen. I don't know if that's kind of picking up, but it really does have a sheen about it. So if you have super dry skin, this might be a powder that you might want to look into. Just go in light with it, you guys, because it is very creamy and it's easy to go in a little too heavy with this. But overall, it's a nice radiant powder. Now, my holy grail drugstore powder is this one here from Maybelline. This is the Fit Me Loose powder. You guys, this powder is so good. I mean, I have put a pretty solid dent in this. I know it doesn't look like it, but you get so much product when you purchase this. So I love that this has a very yellow tint to it. Now, if you cannot wear a yellow tint, this might be something that you might want to steer clear of. At the time of purchase, I got this when it first launched, and I got the shade Fair Light, but I do believe that there is a lighter shade, I believe. Do not quote me on that. But even for Fair Light, I find this is it's a little dark for Fair Light. However, I can make it work, and I especially love this under my eyes, you guys. This smooths the skin out so beautifully. And my preferred method of applying a loose powder is by taking a very slightly damp sponge, and I just barely tap it in there, and then that is what I use. So similar to the baking method, but I'm not applying a ton of powder. I'm just barely tapping in, and I find that that method works for me beautifully, especially in the summer months when it's hot and humid. I find that that method really sets my foundation into place. And so this guy here is around $7 or $8, I believe is what I paid for it, and it is so beautiful. It's so finely milled, it's so smooth, and it really does make your skin look beautiful. So this is my fave from the drugstore. I absolutely love it. I'm not going to be doing a top 3 drugstore powders because I really don't have that many, and I could probably just do it right here. Honestly, the 2 drugstore powders that I reach for are these 2 here. So the Maybelline Fit Me, and if you prefer a pressed, I would say the e.l.f. Tone Correcting Powder in Cool. They're just affordable, great products from the drugstore that I love and highly recommend. I mean, I have hit pan in several places here, so you can see that I do love these powders. They're just amazing, and like I said, affordable, which, you know, is great. It's great to have an affordable powder around, especially, you know, I think powder is something that you can pretty much use rather quickly. So for me personally, those are my absolute faves from the drugstore. And quite honestly, the rest of these, aside from this one here, because it's nice to have a radiant option around, I will more than likely declutter the rest of these 4 powders just because I really do never reach for them, and I would just like to find them a better home. So that is my drugstore powder collection, and I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, just make sure to ask down below. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. I'd love to see you here next time. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.